I hope my mother never gets out of their coma. The ventilator's rhythmic hiss fills room 314 as I check Mom's vitals for the third time today. Her heart rate holds steady at 72 BPM, blood pressure stable, pupils reactive. Everything points to a woman who could wake up any day now. The neurologist, Dr. Martinez, keeps using words like encouraging signs and positive response to stimuli. I want to rip the breathing tube out myself. Any change today, Sarah? Asks Jenny, the day shift nurse taking over. She's new here at St. Mary's, all bright-eyed optimism and gentle touches on Mom's forehead. I've been praying for your family every night. No change, I lie, tucking the tablet under my arm. What I don't tell her is that yesterday Mom squeezed my hand during the pain response test. A deliberate, unmistakable squeeze that made my stomach drop to the floor. 3 months ago, everyone called it a miracle that Patricia Walsh survived the head-on collision on Highway 92. Traumatic brain injury, multiple fractures, internal bleeding, the works. The other driver, a college kid texting his girlfriend, walked away with a broken wrist. Mom got a medically induced coma and a 50-50 chance of ever opening her eyes again. I used to cry myself to sleep those first few weeks. Now I lie awake calculating how much time I have left. It started with Danny's physical therapy bills. My 24-year-old brother has cerebral palsy, and his trust fund, set up by our late father, should have easily covered his specialized care at Riverside Rehabilitation Center. But when I went to make the quarterly payment in October, the account showed a balance of $847.32. The account that should have had $127,000. I thought it was a bank error. Spent 2 weeks on the phone with customer service, filling out forms, demanding explanations. That's when they sent me the transaction history. Hundreds of withdrawals over the past 4 years. Always the same amounts, $2,000, $3,500, sometimes $5,000. Always on Fridays. Always from the Riverside Casino ATM on Route 18. Mom had power of attorney. She'd been bleeding Danny's future dry, $50 and $100 bills at a time, feeding poker machines while he struggled through sessions with outdated equipment because I couldn't afford the premium therapy package on my nurse's salary. Your mom's been asking about the bills, Danny told me last month, his speech slurred but determined. Says she'll handle everything when she gets better. She promised, Sarah. He doesn't know. Neither does our Aunt Carol, who stops by every evening with homemade soup and rosary beads. They see a devoted mother fighting for her life. I see a woman who stole from her disabled son and has no idea I've discovered her secret. But here's the thing about power of attorney, it works both ways. The same legal document that let her drain Danny's account now gives me access to hers. Her savings, her checking, even her retirement fund. I've already moved $23,000 back where it belongs. Her mortgage payment bounced last week, and I felt nothing. The stolen money is scattered across 6 different accounts, mixed with her legitimate funds like poison in well water. I need at least 8 more weeks to untangle it all, to make Danny whole again without raising red flags with the banks or leaving a trail that leads back to me. 8 weeks where she stays exactly like this, unconscious, breathing through a machine, unable to stop me from fixing what she broke. Dr. Martinez thinks she'll be awake by Christmas. I'm praying she's wrong. The call comes at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Dr. Martinez's voice cuts through my sleep like a scalpel. Sarah, you need to get here. Your mother's showing increased brain activity. We're seeing REM patterns we haven't observed before. I'm dressed and in my car within minutes, my heart hammering against my ribs. The 20-minute drive to St. Mary's feels like seconds. When I reach the ICU, Dr. Martinez is studying Mom's latest brain scans with Dr. Patel, the neurological specialist they flew in from Boston last month. Look at these readings, Dr. Martinez points to spikes of white light across the monitor. Her neural responses have increased by 30% since midnight. This could indicate she's beginning to emerge from the coma naturally. How long? My voice sounds steady, professional. Inside, I'm screaming. Could be days. Could be weeks. But Sarah. He turns to face me, and I see something that makes my blood freeze. Hope. I think we should start preparing for her recovery. The early signs are very promising. I nod and smile and say all the right things about hope and miracles and answered prayers. Then I excuse myself to the bathroom and vomit until my throat burns. 8 weeks has become maybe 8 days. I drive straight to Danny's assisted living facility after my shift ends. Sunrise Manor isn't the worst place in the world, but it's not Riverside Rehabilitation Center. The walls need fresh paint, the common room smells like disinfectant and defeat, and Danny's physical therapist is a part-time community college student named Brad who means well but doesn't understand that cerebral palsy requires specialized equipment that costs more than most people make in a year. Sarah. Danny's face lights up when he sees me. He's in his manual wheelchair today, the motorized one broke 3 weeks ago and the repair estimate was $2,400. Money I didn't have. Money that's sitting in Mom's retirement account, earning interest while my brother's mobility deteriorates. How was PT today? I ask, settling into the uncomfortable visitor's chair. Brad says I'm making progress. Danny's optimism could power a small city. He thinks I might be ready for aquatic therapy soon. You know, like at that fancy place we looked at. Riverside Rehabilitation Center. The place he should have been all along. The place that costs $8,000 a month and specializes in adults with cerebral palsy. The place he could have afforded if our mother hadn't decided that beating the house at Riverside Casino was more important than her son's quality of life. Danny, about Mom. I start, then stop. How do you tell someone that the person they love most in the world is a thief? That every prayer they've whispered for her recovery is a prayer against their own future. The nurses say she might wake up soon, he continues, his words slightly slurred but full of joy. I can't wait to tell her about everything Brad's been teaching me. She's going to be so proud. I spend an hour with him, listening to his plans for when Mom recovers. He wants to cook her favorite meal, spaghetti and meatballs. He's been practicing folding napkins with his limited fine motor control because he remembers she always liked things fancy for special occasions. He saved $37 from his disability check to buy her flowers. $37. while she stole $126,000. When I get home, I open my laptop and log into mom's accounts. $47,000 transferred back so far. At least $79,000 still scattered across her various investments and savings accounts, some of it locked in CDs that won't mature for months. I work until sunrise, moving money in small increments, covering my tracks, racing against the clock of her improving brain function. Outside my window, Aunt Carol's car pulls into mom's driveway for her daily ritual of collecting mail and watering plants. She has no idea she's maintaining the home of a thief. The complication arrives in the form of a phone call from First National Bank at 3:17 p.m. on Thursday. Ms. Walsh, this is Rebecca Chen from our Fraud Prevention Department. We've noticed some unusual activity on your mother's accounts and need to verify some recent transactions. My blood turns to ice water. I'm standing in the supply closet at St. Mary's, pretending to count gauze while my world potentially collapses around me. What kind of unusual activity? I keep my voice level, clinical. Large transfers between accounts, some international wire routing that's been flagged by our system. Given that your mother is currently hospitalized, we want to ensure these transactions are legitimate. International wire routing. The phrase hits me like a physical blow. In my desperation to move money quickly, I'd used an online service that apparently routes through offshore systems to avoid daily transfer limits. What seemed like a clever workaround now looks like money laundering to a computer algorithm designed to catch exactly this kind of pattern. I've been handling my mother's affairs while she's in the ICU, I say carefully. Everything I've done has been under her existing power of attorney. Of course, and we understand the situation. Would you be available to come in tomorrow morning to verify some paperwork? We just need to document everything properly for our records. My shift ends in 6 hours. I have exactly 14 hours before I have to sit across from a fraud investigator and explain why I've moved $47,000 in 3 weeks while my mother lies unconscious. After hanging up, I lock myself in a bathroom stall and try to think. The power of attorney is legitimate. Mom signed it 2 years ago when Dad's cancer was getting worse and she needed help managing his medical bills. But using it to recover stolen money while she's in a coma? That's a legal gray area that could land me in prison if the wrong person asks the wrong questions. I'm so lost in my panic that I almost miss Dr. Martinez calling my name over the intercom. Sarah Walsh to room 314, please. Sarah Walsh to room 314. I find Dr. Martinez adjusting Mom's foredrip, his expression unreadable. Her sodium levels are fluctuating, he says without looking up. Nothing dangerous, but we're seeing some metabolic changes that suggest increased neural activity. What does that mean for her recovery timeline? Could mean she's fighting the sedation more than we realized. Dr. Patel thinks we should start reducing the propofol drip tomorrow, let her begin surfacing naturally instead of keeping her under artificially. Tomorrow. The same day I have to explain to a fraud investigator why my mother's money has been ping-ponging across international servers. How quickly could she wake up once you reduce the medication? Dr. Martinez finally meets my eyes. Sarah, I know this is overwhelming. But your mother could be conscious within 48 to 72 hours once we begin the process. Her brain activity suggests she's already trying to wake up on her own. I nod and smile and thank him for the update. Then I walk calmly to the elevator, ride down to the parking garage, and sit in my car for 20 minutes trying not to hyperventilate. 48 hours. Maybe less. That evening, I drive to Riverside Casino for the first time in my life. It's exactly as depressing as I imagined, desperate people feeding machines with money they can't afford to lose, the air thick with cigarette smoke and broken dreams. I find the ATM where Mom made her withdrawals, the machine that dispensed my brother's future in $20 bills. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm gambling too, just with higher stakes. My freedom, my career, my family's entire future balanced on a bet that I can outrun my mother's consciousness. Standing in that casino, surrounded by the evidence of her addiction, I make a decision that will haunt me forever. I'm going to take the biggest risk of all. The decision crystallizes at 11:43 p.m., standing in that casino parking lot with the neon lights painting my windshield red and gold. I'm going to accelerate Mom's recovery. Not slow it down. Speed it up. If she's going to wake up anyway, if the bank investigation is going to expose everything tomorrow, then I need her conscious and talking before they start asking questions about the money transfers. Because there's one thing I figured out staring at that ATM, the only person who can authorize those transactions without triggering a fraud investigation is Mom herself. I need her awake, coherent, and willing to sign papers that make everything I've done look legitimate. Even if it means giving her the chance to stop me from recovering the rest of Danny's money. It's a desperate play, but desperation has been my constant companion for 3 weeks now. I drive back to St. Mary's and badge into the ICU. Night shift is quiet, just me, Tom covering the cardiac wing, and Linda doing rounds on post-surgical. I slip into room 314 and close the door behind me. Mom looks smaller somehow, her face gaunt from months of liquid nutrition. Her dark hair, streaked with gray I never noticed before the accident, spreads across the pillow like she's sleeping peacefully. The ventilator breathes for her, steady and mechanical. I know what you did, I whisper to her unconscious form. I know about the casino, about Danny's money. All of it. No response except the steady beep of her heart monitor. I pull up her chart on the bedside tablet and study her sedation levels. Dr. Martinez mentioned reducing the propofol drip tomorrow, but her latest blood work shows she's metabolizing it faster than expected. Her liver function has improved dramatically since the acute phase of her injuries. What if I reduced it tonight? Just slightly. Enough to let her surface naturally, but in a controlled environment where I'm the first person she sees. Where I can shape the narrative before Dr. Martinez starts asking questions. My finger hovers over the 4 pump controls. This is insane. This is medical malpractice. This could kill her if something goes wrong. But doing nothing definitely kills Danny's future. I decrease the propofol drip by 15%. Not enough to cause distress, but enough to let her brain start fighting its way back to consciousness. Then I settle into the visitor's chair to wait. At 12:17 a.m., her heart rate increases from 72 to 78 BPM. At 12:31 a.m., her eyelids flutter for the first time in 3 months. At 12:44 a.m., she opens her eyes. Sarah. Her voice is barely a whisper around the breathing tube, but it's unmistakably her. Confused, frightened, but aware. I'm here, Mom. You're in the hospital. You were in an accident, but you're going to be okay. She tries to speak again, gesturing weakly at the ventilator. I know I should call Dr. Martinez immediately, follow protocol, let the medical team assess her neurological function. Instead, I lean closer to her ear. Mom, I need you to listen carefully. There's been a problem with Danny's accounts. The bank is asking questions about some transfers. I need you to tell them you authorized me to move some money around while you were sick. Her eyes widen, and I see something flicker across her face. Recognition. Fear. Guilt. She shakes her head slightly, trying to focus. Her lips move soundlessly around the breathing tube. The money you took from Danny, I continue, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I've been putting it back. But the bank thinks it's fraud. You need to tell them you asked me to handle your finances. This time her reaction is unmistakable. Panic. She tries to sit up, setting off alarms on 3 different monitors. Her heart rate spikes to 95, then 102. Mom, calm down. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to protect all of us. But she's not calming down. She's fighting the ventilator, clawing at the tubes, her eyes wild with confusion and terror. The monitors are screaming now, and I can hear footsteps running down the hall. Linda bursts through the door. Sarah, what's happening? Why didn't you call? She stops mid-sentence, taking in the scene. Mom thrashing against her restraints, me standing over her with my hand still on the 4 pump controls. She just woke up, I say quickly. I was about to page Dr. Martinez when she became agitated. But Linda's eyes are on the pump display, noting the reduced medication levels. Her expression shifts from concern to suspicion. Sarah, did you adjust her sedation? Behind us, Mom's vital signs are painting a clear picture of a patient in severe distress. And in her eyes, I see something that makes my blood run cold. She remembers everything. The next 6 hours blur together like a fever dream. Linda pages Dr. Martinez, who arrives looking like he's been dragged from deep sleep. Mom stabilizes once they increase her sedation, but not before she manages to mouth one word that chills me to the bone, stop. Dr. Martinez pulls me into the hallway while the respiratory team adjusts her ventilator settings. Sarah, I need you to walk me through exactly what happened. The nursing notes show you were in there for 47 minutes before calling for help. I was updating her chart and noticed some unusual eye movement. I lie smoothly. When I went to check her pupils, she suddenly became responsive. It happened very fast. He studies my face with the intensity of someone who spent 15 years reading between the lines of medical emergencies. Her propofol levels were significantly lower than what we had programmed. The pump shows a manual adjustment at 11:52 p.m. My throat goes dry. Maybe there was a malfunction. Those pumps have been acting up all month. Maybe. But his tone suggests he's not buying it. I'm going to need you to write a detailed incident report. And Sarah? I think it's best if you're not assigned to your mother's case anymore. Family members treating relatives can lead to complications. By 6 a.m., I'm officially barred from room 314. By 7 a.m., I'm sitting across from Rebecca Chen at First National Bank, my hands shaking as I sign forms authorizing a complete audit of Mom's accounts. These international routing codes are quite sophisticated, Rebecca says, spreading transaction records across her desk like tarot cards predicting my doom. Whoever set up these transfers knew exactly how to bypass our standard monitoring systems. My mother is very thorough with financial matters. Another lie to add to my growing collection. Was very thorough. Before her accident. Rebecca's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Which is why we're confused about transactions that occurred 3 days ago, while she's been unconscious for 3 months. The room feels like it's shrinking. I've been managing her affairs under power of attorney. Every transaction has been legitimate. I'm sure it has been. But our investigation has revealed something interesting. She slides a printed statement toward me. These aren't just random transfers, Ms. Walsh. There's a clear pattern of money being moved from your mother's accounts into an account belonging to Daniel Walsh. Your brother. My heart stops. They've connected the dots. We pulled Daniel's trust fund records as part of our investigation. Very interesting reading. It appears someone with access to that account systematically withdrew nearly $126,000 over 4 years. Always on Fridays. Always from the same casino ATM. She knows. Everything. Now, those withdrawals stopped exactly 3 months ago. The same day your mother was admitted to St. Mary's ICU. What are the odds? I force myself to meet her gaze. Are you suggesting my mother stole from her disabled son? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you what the records show. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Rebecca leans back in her chair, studying me like a chess player contemplating her next move. See, here's the thing, Ms. Walsh. Technically, what you've been doing isn't fraud. If your mother did steal from Daniel's trust fund, then you've actually been correcting a crime, not committing one. The words hit me like a physical blow. What are you saying? I'm saying the bank doesn't want to prosecute a nurse who's been taking care of her disabled brother. Bad optics. But we do want to make sure this situation gets resolved properly. She pulls out another document. We've prepared a settlement agreement. Your mother pays restitution for the stolen funds, plus penalties and interest. In exchange, we don't report the original theft to the authorities. She's in a coma. Not according to the hospital. Dr. Martinez called this morning. Says she's showing signs of emerging consciousness. Could be awake within days. My phone buzzes with a text from Aunt Carol, asterisk heard the wonderful news. Rushing to hospital now. Miracle prayers answered, asterisk. The news is already spreading. Soon the whole family will be camped outside room 314, waiting for Mom to wake up and explain where Danny's money went. Rebecca slides the settlement papers across the desk. Total restitution, $187,000. That includes the original theft plus 4 years of interest and penalties. Your mother has exactly that much in her combined retirement and investment accounts. Every penny. They want every penny she has left. What if she refuses to sign? Rebecca's smile turns predatory. Then we turn our findings over to the district attorney. Your mother gets charged with theft from a disabled person, which carries a mandatory minimum of 3 years. You get charged with money laundering and wire fraud, which carries up to 10 years federal time. My phone buzzes again. Danny this time, asterisk Sarah. Carol says Mom is waking up. Can you take me to see her? I have her flowers ready, asterisk. Outside the bank windows, normal people are living normal lives. Going to work, buying coffee, worrying about mundane things like traffic and weather. They have no idea that inside this sterile office, a woman is choosing between destroying her mother and saving her brother. How long do I have to decide? Your mother needs to sign these papers within 72 hours of regaining consciousness. After that, our legal obligations change. 72 hours to convince a gambling addict to give up her entire life savings to pay for a crime she probably doesn't even remember committing. I sign my name as witness and guarantor, sealing both our fates with black ink. When I arrive at the hospital at 2 p.m., room 314 looks like a family reunion nobody wanted. Aunt Carol sits beside Mom's bed knitting something pink and shapeless, while Uncle Mike paces by the window checking his phone every 30 seconds. Danny's motorized wheelchair, somehow miraculously repaired, is positioned right next to Mom's bed, his hand resting gently on her arm. Sarah. Carol jumps up to hug me. Isn't it wonderful? Dr. Martinez says she could be fully awake by tomorrow morning. Through the glass, I can see Mom's eyes moving beneath her closed lids. The ventilator still breathes for her, but her chest rises and falls with more natural rhythm. Her fingers twitch occasionally, like she's trying to grab onto consciousness. Has she been responsive at all? I ask, settling into the only empty chair. She squeezed Danny's hand about an hour ago, Mike says. Definitely deliberate. The kid started crying. Danny beams at me. She knows I'm here, Sarah. I can feel it. And look, he holds up a small bouquet of grocery store carnations, the $37 he'd saved tied up in pink ribbon. She's going to love them. The settlement papers feel like they're burning a hole in my purse. $187,000. Everything she has left, including the retirement account Dad made her promise never to touch. When she wakes up, I'll have approximately 71 hours to convince her to sign away her entire financial future. The strangest thing happened this morning, Carol says, resuming her knitting. I went to Patricia's house to water the plants, and there was a notice from the mortgage company on the door. Something about missed payments. She frowns. That can't be right. Your mother has always been so careful with money. Mike and I exchange glances. He doesn't know about Danny's stolen fund, but he's not stupid. Medical bills can pile up fast, he says diplomatically. Even with insurance. I've been helping Mom with her finances, I add quickly. There was some confusion with automatic payments while she's been hospitalized. Oh, good. I was worried she might lose the house on top of everything else. Carol's needles click rhythmically. This family has been through enough trauma. If only she knew that the real trauma is still coming. At 4:17 p.m., Mom's eyes flutter open. This time, she stays awake. Danny notices first. Mom. Mom, can you hear me? Her gaze finds his face and holds. Even with the breathing tube, I can see her trying to smile. Tears leak from the corners of her eyes as she takes in his presence, his flowers, his obvious joy at seeing her conscious. Dr. Martinez arrives within minutes, bringing Dr. Patel and a respiratory therapist. After 20 minutes of tests and assessments, they make the decision I've been dreading. We're going to remove the ventilator, Dr. Martinez announces. Her lung function is strong enough, and keeping her intubated now that she's conscious will only cause distress. The process takes 15 minutes. When it's over, Mom's first word in 3 months comes out as a hoarse whisper, Danny. My brother dissolves into sobs, clutching her hand like it's the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. I knew you'd come back. I knew you wouldn't leave me. Never, she whispers, her voice getting stronger. Never leave you. But her eyes find mine over Danny's head, and I see the fear there. She remembers our conversation from last night. She knows I discovered her secret. Water, she croaks, and Carol rushes to help her sip from a straw. Don't try to talk too much, sweetie, Carol fusses. You need to rest. How long? Mom asks. 3 months, Mike tells her. You've been out for 3 months, Patty. We weren't sure you were coming back. 3 months. I watch her process this information, watch her eyes dart toward the calendar on the wall, watch her mentally calculate how many bills went unpaid, how many automatic withdrawals might have failed. How much damage I might have discovered. Sarah, she says suddenly. Need to talk to Sarah. Alone. Mom, you should rest, Danny starts. Please. Her voice carries an authority I haven't heard since before the accident. 5 minutes. Reluctantly, the family files out, promising to return soon with coffee and real food and updates from the outside world. When we're alone, Mom struggles to sit up higher in bed. Her words come slowly, her throat still raw from months of intubation. The bank called you. It's not a question. Yesterday morning. How much do they know? I pull the settlement papers from my purse and set them on her bedside table. Everything, Mom. They know everything. She closes her eyes, and for a moment I think she might slip back into unconsciousness. But when she opens them again, there's something there I wasn't expecting. Relief. You don't understand, Mom whispers, her voice gaining strength with each word. I was going to pay it back. All of it. I had a system. I stare at her, incredulous. A system? You stole $126,000 from your disabled son and you call it a system? The poker machines at Riverside, I've been tracking the patterns for months. Table 7 pays out every 43 hands, table 12 every 61. I was so close to cracking it. Her eyes have that familiar glassy look I remember from when Dad was sick and she'd disappear for hours at a time. The delusion hits me like a physical slap. Even now, after losing everything, she still believes she can beat machines programmed to take her money. Mom, there is no system. That's not how gambling works. You don't understand. She tries to lean forward but winces, her ribs still healing from the accident. The night before my accident, I was up $12,000. 12,000, Sarah. I was finally turning it around. The settlement papers crinkle as I unfold them on her blanket. This is what the bank wants. Full restitution plus penalties. $187,000 total. Everything you have left. Her eyes scan the document, and I watch her face cycle through confusion, anger, and finally resignation. Your father's retirement fund. Every penny. He made me promise never to touch it. Said it was for our old age, for Danny's future care when we got too old to help him. You already spent Danny's future, Mom. This is just paying it back. Silence stretches between us, filled only by the steady beep of her heart monitor and the distant sounds of hospital life continuing outside our bubble of family destruction. There's something else, she says finally. Something you haven't found yet. My stomach drops. What do you mean? The house. I took out a second mortgage 8 months ago. $85,000. The room spins slightly. Where's the money? Gone. I was so sure I could win it back before anyone noticed. The mortgage company started calling in September, but then the accident. She trails off, staring at the ceiling. $85,000 on top of everything else. The house Dad bought 30 years ago, where Danny still keeps his childhood bedroom for weekend visits, where every family Christmas morning played out around the same artificial tree. How long before they foreclose? I missed 4 payments before the accident. You've probably missed 3 more while I've been unconscious. 7 months of missed payments. We're past the point of catching up with payment plans or loan modifications. The house is gone. Does Danny know? God, no. He still thinks he's moving back in with me when he turns 25. Talks about it every week. Fresh tears leak down her cheeks. How do I tell him I lost his childhood home feeding quarters into a machine? Before I can answer, the door opens and Danny wheels himself back in, his face bright with excitement. Mom, I have so much to tell you. Brad thinks I'm ready for aquatic therapy soon. And guess what? Sarah's been taking such good care of me. She even got my wheelchair fixed today. I haven't gotten his wheelchair fixed. It was broken this morning and somehow functional this afternoon. Mom must have arranged the repair before her accident, some automatic payment that finally went through. Another small kindness in the wreckage of her addiction. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Mom says, her voice artificially bright. Tell me everything. As Danny launches into excited descriptions of his physical therapy progress, I catch Mom's eye over his head. She mouths 2 words that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Help me. Not help me hide this. Not help me avoid consequences. Help me figure out how to survive what comes next. Outside the window, it starts to rain. The settlement meeting is scheduled for Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mom has been awake for 4 days now, and the physical therapist says she'll be ready for discharge by the end of the week. 4 days to transform from unconscious victim to gambling addict facing financial ruin. I've barely slept since she woke up. Every time I close my eyes, I see Danny's face when he finds out about the house. About everything. The mortgage company called again, I tell Mom during visiting hours Sunday evening. Danny's back at Sunrise Manor, and Aunt Carol went home to make soup for tomorrow's lunch. We're alone for the first time since her confession about the second mortgage. What did they say? Foreclosure proceedings start Wednesday. Sheriff's sale in 6 weeks. I pull out a folder thick with legal documents. I've been researching bankruptcy options. Chapter 7 would eliminate most of your debts, but you'd lose the house anyway. Mom stares at the ceiling tiles, counting the small holes in the acoustic foam. She's been doing that a lot lately, counting things. The floor tiles, the ceiling holes, the beats between her heart monitor beeps. Dr. Patel says it's a common coping mechanism for patients dealing with cognitive stress. There is one other option, I continue, hating myself for even suggesting it. The mortgage company might accept a short sale. Get what they can and forgive the rest. How much could we get for the house? I've already called 3 real estate agents. Maybe $240,000 in this market. After realtor fees and closing costs, there'd be about $15,000 left over after paying off both mortgages. $15,000. That's what 40 years of marriage and raising 2 children comes down to. Her voice is flat, emotionless. It's worse than hearing her cry. Mom, there's something else we need to discuss. Danny's been asking questions about when he can move back in with you. He's planning his whole future around living in that house. I know. She closes her eyes. He showed me the sketches. Sketches. He's been drawing floor plans. How to make the house wheelchair accessible. Ramps, wider doorways, a roll-in shower. He's thought of everything. Her voice cracks. He's been saving money for the renovations. $300 so far. $300. While she was stealing $126,000. We have to tell him. How? Mom turns to look at me directly for the first time in days. How do I explain to my disabled son that I gambled away his inheritance and his home? That every promise I made about taking care of him was a lie? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from Danny, asterisk, can you pick me up early tomorrow? Want to spend whole day with Mom. Bringing her favorite magazines, asterisk. He wants to spend the day with you tomorrow, I tell her. The day before I have to sign papers that destroy both our futures. The papers that fix what you already destroyed, I correct her. Mom, you need to understand something. The bank isn't the villain here. You are. She flinches like I've slapped her. You stole from your disabled son. You mortgaged his childhood home to feed slot machines. You made promises you knew you couldn't keep. The words pour out of me like poison. The only reason you're not going to prison is because I've spent 3 months cleaning up your mess. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. And now Danny's going to pay the price for your addiction. Mom reaches for the call button, and for a moment I think she's going to ask me to leave. Instead, she calls the nurse's station. This is Patricia Walsh in room 314. Could you please ask my son Daniel to come see me tomorrow at 9 a.m. instead of the afternoon? Tell him it's important. She's going to tell him everything. Mom, wait. Maybe we should think about how to. No. Her voice carries the same authority that used to send me to my room as a child. I'm done thinking. I'm done planning. I'm done lying to the person I love most in this world. She hangs up the phone and looks at me with something approaching peace. Help me figure out what to say to him, Sarah. Help me tell my son that his mother is a thief. The words come at 6:23 a.m., 3 hours before Danny arrives and 4 hours before we're supposed to meet with the bank. I can't do it. Mom's voice cuts through the early morning quiet of the ICU. I'm technically off duty, but I've been sitting in her room since 5 a.m., rehearsing different ways to explain financial ruin to someone who still believes in happy endings. Mom, we've been over this. You have to sign the papers. Not the papers. She struggles to sit up in bed, her movement still stiff from 3 months of immobility. I can't tell Danny. I can't look at my son and explain that I stole his future $20 at a time. Through the window, I watch the sunrise paint the hospital parking lot gold. In 3 hours, Danny will will himself through that same lot, probably humming something cheerful, carrying whatever small gift he's managed to scrape together for the mother who betrayed him. So what's your alternative? Keep lying. There might be another way. Mom's voice takes on that familiar tone I remember from her gambling days, the sound of someone convincing themselves they found a loophole in mathematics. What if we tell Danny the bank made an error? That his trust fund was invested poorly and lost money in the market? I stare at her. You want to blame the bank? People lose money in investments all the time. He wouldn't understand the details, but he'd accept that sometimes these things happen. She's talking faster now, building momentum. We could say I'm using my retirement money to make up the difference. He'd never know about the casino. Mom, there are records. Transaction logs showing exactly where every dollar went. Riverside Casino ATM, Friday afternoons, for 4 years straight. Danny doesn't know how to access those records. He trusts us to handle the complicated financial stuff. The casual cruelty of it hits me like a physical blow. She's counting on Danny's disability, on his trusting nature, to hide her crimes. Using his limitations as a shield for her addiction. No. Sarah, please. Think about what this knowledge will do to him. Danny sees the best in everyone, especially me. Finding out his mother is a gambling addict who stole from him, it'll destroy him worse than losing the money. He's going to find out anyway when he can't afford Riverside Rehabilitation Center. When the house goes into foreclosure. When his entire support system collapses around him. We'll figure something else out. There are other programs, other facilities. Funded with what money? I pull out the settlement papers, now wrinkled from being folded and refolded. You're about to sign away every penny you have. Your retirement, your savings, everything. What exactly are we going to use to take care of Danny? Mom's face crumples. Maybe Medicaid will cover more than we thought. Maybe there are grants, assistance programs we haven't explored. I've already explored them. Spent hours on the phone with social workers and disability advocates. The waiting lists for quality care are 18 months long. The facilities that accept Medicaid immediately are places like Sunrise Manor, understaffed, underfunded warehouses where people with disabilities go to be forgotten. Danny's been planning his whole adult life around moving back into the house with you, I say gently. He's drawn floor plans, Sarah. Architectural sketches showing where to install ramps and grab bars. He's researched contractors and saved money for renovations. I know. He talks about cooking Sunday dinners for the whole family in Mom's kitchen. About having grandchildren over for Christmas morning in the same living room where he opened presents as a kid. I know. Her voice breaks. And you want to let him keep believing that's possible. Let him keep planning for a future that doesn't exist. Mom reaches for the tissue box with shaking hands. What if we sold the house ourselves? Before the foreclosure. Use the money to buy something smaller, more accessible. Maybe a condo or... There's $15,000 of equity left, Mom. You can't buy a wheelchair-accessible home for $15,000. The number hangs in the air between us like a death sentence. $15,000. The remainder of a lifetime of working and saving and building something to pass on to your children. My phone buzzes with a text from Danny, asterisk on my way. Stop to buy Mom's favorite coffee creamer. Today is going to be perfect, asterisk. Perfect. The word feels obscene in the context of what we're about to do to him. He's bringing you coffee creamer, I tell Mom. She closes her eyes. French vanilla. He remembers I switched from regular cream last year because the doctor said I needed to watch my cholesterol. He remembers everything about you. Every preference, every habit, every story you've ever told him. He worships you, Mom. Stop. He spent $37 on flowers while living on disability benefits. He got his wheelchair repaired so he could spend more time at your bedside. He's been planning this conversation for 3 months. Stop, please. And in 45 minutes, you're going to tell him that the person he loves most in the world is a thief and a liar. Mom opens her eyes and looks at me with something I've never seen there before. Not guilt, not shame, but a terrible, crystalline clarity. No, she says quietly. I'm not. Before I can ask what she means, the door opens and Dr. Martinez walks in with her discharge papers. The discharge papers feel like a death warrant in Dr. Martinez's hands. Mom's vitals have been stable for 36 hours, her cognitive function tests came back normal, and her physical therapy assessments show she's ready to continue recovery at home. The home that won't be hers in 6 weeks. I've scheduled a follow-up appointment for next Friday, Dr. Martinez explains, reviewing the paperwork. Physical therapy twice a week, and I want to see you back here if you experience any dizziness, confusion, or memory issues. Memory issues, Mom repeats softly. What kind of memory issues? Some patients experience gaps after extended unconsciousness. Short-term memory problems, difficulty with recent events versus older memories. It's usually temporary, but we like to monitor it closely. I watch Mom's face carefully. There's something calculating in her expression, like she's filing this information away for later use. Doctor, she says suddenly, I've been having some confusion about the past few months. Before the accident. Some things feel unclear. My blood runs cold. Mom, what do you mean? Financial things, mostly. Sarah mentioned there were some problems with Danny's accounts, but I can't remember the details. She looks directly at Dr. Martinez, her voice taking on that helpless quality she used to use with Dad's doctors. Could the head injury have affected my memory of events before the accident? Dr. Martinez considers this. Retrograde amnesia isn't uncommon with traumatic brain injuries. Memory loss can extend weeks or even months before the incident, especially for complex information like financial details. So if someone told me I had done something during that time period, but I couldn't remember it, it would be entirely consistent with your injury pattern. He makes a note in her chart. Are you experiencing significant gaps? I honestly can't say. Everything from last summer onward feels fuzzy. Last summer. When the bank records show her casino visits intensified from weekly to twice weekly. When Danny's trust fund balance dropped from $87,000 to $34,000 in just 4 months. Dr. Martinez finishes his notes and heads for the door. Memory issues can be frustrating, but they often improve with time. Don't push yourself to remember things that feel unclear. The moment he leaves, I turn to face Mom. What are you doing? Buying time. By pretending you have amnesia. By accepting that I might actually have gaps in my memory. Her voice is steady, but I can see her hands trembling. The doctor just confirmed it's medically possible. You remember everything, Mom. You told me about your system for beating the poker machines. You knew exactly how much money you took from Danny's account. Did I? Or was I just repeating what you told me I had done? She meets my gaze with something approaching defiance. Head injuries can cause false memories, especially when someone is told information while they're confused and medicated. The manipulation is breathtaking. She's constructing a narrative where I become the unreliable narrator, where her own confessions get reframed as suggestions I planted during her vulnerable recovery. The bank has records, Mom. Transaction logs, security footage, witness statements from casino employees who knew you by name. Records of someone using my ATM card and PIN. But if I don't remember giving anyone permission to access my accounts. She lets the implication hang between us. My phone buzzes. Danny again, asterisk in the parking lot. Should I bring flowers to your room or wait until you come home, asterisk. He's here, I tell her. Mom takes a shaky breath and smooths her hospital gown. How do I look? Like someone about to destroy her son's life. Or like someone with a brain injury trying to piece together a confusing situation. She reaches for her water cup with hands that have steadied considerably. Sarah, I need you to understand something. I may not remember exactly what happened with those accounts, but I know I would never intentionally hurt Danny. Intentionally or not, you did hurt him. Then we'll figure out how to fix it. Together. But I'm not going to let my son believe his mother is a thief when I can't even remember being one. Through the door's glass panel, I see Danny's wheelchair approaching, pushed by an orderly. He's wearing his best shirt, the blue button-down Aunt Carol bought him for Easter, and carrying a small gift bag along with the coffee creamer. Mom, the bank meeting is in 2 hours. I know. They expect you to sign papers admitting you stole Danny's money. I'm aware. What happens when you tell them you don't remember any of it? For the first time since waking up, Mom smiles. It's not a happy expression, it's the grim smile of someone who's decided to fight instead of surrender. Then we find out if they can prove a brain-injured woman committed a crime she can't remember, using memories that may not even be real. The door opens, and Danny wheels himself in, his face luminous with joy. Mom. You look so much better. I brought you something special. As he reaches into his gift bag, I realize we've moved far beyond questions of guilt and redemption. Mom has chosen her strategy, and it's the most dangerous gamble of her life. She's betting everything on a lie that might actually be partially true. Danny's gift is a small photo album he's made himself, each page carefully decorated with stickers and his painstaking handwriting. Look, Mom, I made a scrapbook of everything that happened while you were sleeping. The first page shows a newspaper clipping about her accident, with Danny's note, October 12th, the worst day of my life. He flips through pages documenting his daily visits, photos Carol took of him reading to her unconscious form, ticket stubs from the hospital parking garage. I saved everything, he says proudly. So when you woke up, you wouldn't miss anything important. Mom's performance is flawless. She studies each page with wonder, asking gentle questions about events she should remember. This was Christmas. I was still unconscious at Christmas. You were, but I brought you a present anyway. Danny points to a photo of a small wrapped box on her bedside table. Carol said maybe you could hear us, so I told you all about it. The new prayer book with large print, because you always complained about your old one being too small. That was very thoughtful, sweetheart. Mom's voice wavers just enough to sound genuinely emotional. I'm sorry I missed so much. Watching her manipulate his love is like witnessing a masterclass in psychological abuse. Every confused smile, every grateful tear, every request for him to help me remember, is designed to position her as the victim of circumstances beyond her control. My phone vibrates with a text from Rebecca Chen, asterisk meeting moved to 11 a.m. Bring medical records if memory issues are a factor, asterisk. Dr. Martinez must have updated Mom's file already. Her amnesia claim is now part of her official medical record, which means it carries legal weight in any proceedings. Danny, I interrupt, Mom and I need to discuss some business matters before her appointment today. Maybe you could. Oh, that's okay. I can help. Danny closes the photo album carefully. I've been learning about Mom's bills and stuff while she was sick. Carol showed me how to write checks and organize papers. Mom and I exchange glances. If Danny has been involved in managing her affairs, he might have already discovered some of the financial irregularities. What kind of bills have you been helping with? Mom asks carefully. Well, Carol was worried about the mortgage payment bouncing, so I called the bank to ask about it. Danny pulls out a small notebook where he's written everything in his neat, slow script. The lady said there were some irregular account activities, but she couldn't tell me details because of privacy rules. The room feels like it's shrinking. Danny knows something is wrong, he just doesn't know what. I also called about my trust fund account because I wanted to start saving for the house renovations. He flips to another page in his notebook. But the automated system said my balance was only $847. That can't be right, can it? There should be way more than that. Mom closes her eyes briefly. When she opens them, her confusion looks utterly genuine. I don't remember anything about your trust fund having problems. Sarah, did you know about this? The question hangs in the air like a loaded gun. She's forcing me to choose, either corroborate her amnesia story and help her deceive Danny, or tell the truth and destroy both of them. Danny looks between us expectantly, his notebook open to a page titled, Questions for Mom, with 17 numbered items written in careful handwriting. Item number 1, why is my trust fund empty? Item number 17, are we going to lose the house? My phone shows 10:23 a.m. We're supposed to meet with the bank in 37 minutes, and Danny has already figured out everything we were trying to hide from him. Mom, I say slowly, I think there are some things we all need to discuss. Danny's notebook falls from his hands when I tell him the truth. All of it. The casino withdrawals, the missing $126,000, Mom's 4-year gambling addiction that bled his trust fund dry while he dreamed of accessible bathroom renovations and Sunday family dinners. The numbers spill out of me like a confession, $2,000 here, $5,000 there, every Friday afternoon at the Riverside Casino ATM while Danny attended physical therapy sessions he could no longer afford. Sarah, stop, Mom whispers, but I can't stop. Won't stop. The house is gone too, Danny. She took out a second mortgage for $85,000 and gambled that away as well. We have 6 weeks before the sheriff's sale. Danny stares at the scattered pages of his notebook on the hospital floor. Question 17, are we going to lose the house? Faces up at us like an accusation. His careful handwriting, each letter formed slowly due to his limited fine motor control, somehow makes it worse. Mom. His voice sounds very young. Is Sarah telling the truth? The silence stretches for 30 seconds that feel like 30 years. Mom's performance wavers as she looks at her son, really looks at him, for the first time since waking up. His face cycles through confusion, disbelief, and finally a terrible understanding. I don't remember doing those things, Mom says finally. But the records don't lie. It's not the full admission I was hoping for, but it's not the complete denial she threatened either. Something in Danny's expression has broken through her carefully constructed amnesia defense. You don't remember. Danny's voice cracks. You don't remember taking my money. I remember loving you. I remember wanting to take care of you forever. I remember your father making me promise to protect your future. Mom's tears look real now, not performed. But the gambling, it's like there's this hole in my memory where someone else was living my life. Danny processes this slowly, the way he processes everything, turning each piece of information over carefully before filing it away. So all those times you said you were going grocery shopping on Friday afternoons. She was feeding slot machines instead, I finish when Mom can't answer. And the renovation plans we made? The wheelchair ramp, the roll-in shower. Can't happen without the trust fund money. Danny nods once, a sharp movement that somehow contains multitudes of grief. Then he reaches down to collect his scattered notebook pages, his movements mechanical and precise. Danny, sweetheart, Mom starts. I need to think, he says quietly. I need to go somewhere and think about this. He wheels toward the door, then stops. The bank meeting Mom mentioned. That's in 20 minutes, isn't it? I check my phone. 10:37 a.m. Yes. I want to come. Danny, you don't need to. She stole my money. His voice is steady now, frighteningly calm. I should be there when she pays it back. Mom looks stricken. Danny, please. Let me handle this. You don't need to see. What? I don't need to see my mother signing papers that admit she's a thief. He turns his wheelchair to face her directly. Mom, I've been planning my entire adult life around living in that house with you. I've been saving disability money, $317, to help with renovations for a house that's being foreclosed on. The specific number hits like a physical blow. $317. Saved quarter by quarter, dollar by dollar, while she was burning through thousands. I drew blueprints, Danny continues, his voice growing stronger. Actual architectural drawings with measurements and everything. I researched contractors and got quotes for materials. I called the county about permits for accessibility modifications. He pulls a folded paper from his notebook, a detailed floor plan showing the first floor of Mom's house redesigned for wheelchair access. Every doorway widened to 36 inches. A ramp from the driveway to the front door with the correct gradient ratio. Grab bars marked precisely in the bathroom. I did this while you were unconscious, Mom. Spent hours making sure every detail was perfect. Because I thought we were going to build something beautiful together. The drawing is remarkably sophisticated for someone with Danny's limitations. He must have spent weeks on it, maybe months, measuring rooms and researching accessibility requirements with the same careful attention he brings to everything. Mom stares at the blueprint of the future she destroyed, and I watch her amnesia defense crumble completely. I remember, she whispers. I remember you showing me websites about accessible design. I remember telling you we'd start the renovations in the spring. You remember. I remember all of it, Danny. The casino, the money, the promises I made knowing I was breaking them. She reaches toward him, but he pulls back slightly. I'm so sorry. My phone buzzes, Rebecca Chin calling. They're wondering where we are, I tell them. Danny folds his blueprint carefully and puts it back in his notebook. Let's go then. Time to finish what she started. The bank conference room smells like stale coffee and broken dreams. Rebecca Chen has spread the settlement documents across a mahogany table that probably costs more than Danny's annual disability payments. Mom sits in a borrowed wheelchair, hospital policy for recent discharge patients, while Danny positions his motorized chair directly across from her like we're about to conduct a deposition instead of a family financial meeting. Mrs. Walsh, I'm glad to see you've recovered enough to handle these matters personally, Rebecca says, her tone professionally neutral. However, I understand there may be some memory issues related to your injury. Some things are clearer than others, Mom replies carefully. She's abandoned the complete amnesia act but hasn't fully committed to total recall either. It's a dangerous middle ground that could backfire spectacularly. Rebecca opens the first folder. Let's start with the basics. Do you recall having power of attorney over your son Daniel's trust fund? Yes, that I remember clearly. My husband set it up before he died, and I was supposed to manage it until Danny turned 25. And do you recall making regular withdrawals from that account over the past 4 years? Mom's hands fidget with the wheelchair brake. I remember going to the bank on Fridays sometimes. But the specific amounts, the purposes. That's where things get fuzzy. Danny pulls out his notebook and flips to a page marked, Questions for the bank lady. I hadn't realized he prepared for this meeting like a business presentation. Excuse me, Ms. Chen, Danny says politely. Could you tell us exactly how much money was taken from my account? I'd like to write it down. Rebecca glances at me, then back at Danny. The total unauthorized withdrawals amount to $126,147 over 47 months. The average withdrawal was $2,684, always made on Friday afternoons between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Danny writes this information down with careful precision, his handwriting slower than usual due to nerves. And where did these withdrawals take place? Exclusively at the Riverside Casino ATM on Route 18. Danny's pen stops moving. He looks up at Mom with an expression I've never seen before, not anger exactly, but a terrible kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than rage. Mom, you told me you didn't like gambling. When Carol wanted to take us to that church bingo night last year, you said gambling was a waste of money that could be used for important things. Mom flinches. Danny. You said people who gambled their family's money away were selfish. You said Dad would be ashamed of anyone who threw away his hard work like that. Danny's voice remains steady, but tears leak down his cheeks. Do you remember saying that? I remember. Rebecca clears her throat. If we could return to the settlement terms. Wait, Danny interrupts, still writing in his notebook. I have more questions. For the next 20 minutes, my brother methodically works through his prepared list. He asks about interest rates and penalty calculations. He requests copies of every transaction record. He wants to know if there are security cameras at the casino ATM and whether Mom's face is visible in the footage. It's like watching a disability advocate in training, and I realize that somewhere in the past 3 months, while I've been focused on financial recovery, Danny has been preparing to understand exactly how badly he's been betrayed. One last question, Danny says, consulting his notebook. Ms. Chen, in your professional opinion, does my mother's claimed memory loss change anything about what she owes me? Rebecca's smile turns razor sharp. Not a single penny, Mr. Walsh. Regardless of what she remembers, the debt remains the same. Mom signs the papers with a shaking hand, agreeing to surrender every asset she has left. As her pen moves across the signature line, I watch Danny close his notebook with a soft snap that sounds like a door shutting forever. The papers are signed by 11:47 a.m., but we sit in that conference room until 12:23 p.m. while Rebecca explains the logistics of financial ruin. Mom's retirement accounts will be liquidated within 10 business days. Her savings account gets frozen immediately. The house sale has to close within 30 days or the bank pursues additional penalties. There is one irregularity we need to address, Rebecca says, pulling out a folder I haven't seen before. Mrs. Walsh, our investigation found that someone has been systematically moving money back into Daniel's trust fund over the past 3 weeks. Large transfers that bypass our normal monitoring systems. My stomach drops to the floor. What kind of transfers? $23,000 moved in increments designed to avoid detection. Very sophisticated routing, using international servers to mask the source. Rebecca's eyes find mine across the table. The IP address traces back to a hospital computer terminal. Danny looks between us, confused. I don't understand. Someone was putting money back into my account. Sarah, Mom says quietly, and I hear years of disappointment compressed into my name. I was trying to fix it, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone found out. Before Danny got hurt. Rebecca shuffles papers with the efficiency of someone who's destroyed families before lunch on a regular basis. Ms. Walsh, the younger Ms. Walsh, what you did technically constitutes money laundering. Moving funds without authorization from the account holder, using deceptive routing to avoid detection. But it was Danny's money originally. Doesn't matter. Your mother had legal control of those accounts. You accessed them without permission and manipulated the transfer systems. She slides another document across the table. The bank is prepared to overlook this irregularity as part of the overall settlement, but we need documentation of your involvement. Another confession to sign. Another admission of guilt to add to our family's collection. Danny raises his hand like we're in elementary school. Excuse me. Sarah was trying to help me. Sarah was trying to cover up your mother's crime before anyone discovered it, Rebecca corrects. Which is its own crime. But she was putting my money back where it belonged. Using illegal methods that could have landed her in federal prison. I watched Danny process this information, his face cycling through confusion, gratitude, and something approaching horror. Sarah, you could have gone to jail. For me. I couldn't let you lose everything because of her gambling addiction. But you could have lost everything because of my money. The irony isn't lost on any of us. In trying to protect Danny from Mom's crimes, I committed my own crimes. The same desperation that drove Mom to steal had driven me to steal it back. I need air, Mom says suddenly. I need to get out of this room. Rebecca checks her watch. We're nearly finished. Just need signatures on the disclosure forms and... No. Mom's voice cuts through the banking professional pleasantries like a scream. I can't sit here anymore listening to you catalog everything I've destroyed. She wheels herself toward the door, moving faster than someone should 3 hours out of the hospital. Danny and I follow, leaving Rebecca surrounded by unsigned papers and the detritus of our family's financial collapse. In the bank lobby, Mom stops her wheelchair abruptly. Danny, I need you to know something. Sarah didn't just try to steal your money back. She sacrificed her entire life for 3 months taking care of both of us. Mom. She worked double shifts to pay for your care while I was unconscious. She researched every treatment option, every assistance program, every possible way to help you. Mom's voice breaks. And instead of thanking her, she gets to sign papers admitting she's a criminal too. Danny wheels over to me and takes my hand. Sarah, why didn't you tell me how bad things were? Because you shouldn't have to worry about money. You should get to plan renovations and dream about Sunday dinners and believe that people will take care of you. But people do take care of me. You take care of me. You always have. Through the bank's floor-to-ceiling windows, I watch normal people living normal lives, handling normal problems like car payments and grocery budgets. None of them are signing documents that admit their entire family consists of criminals and victims in equal measure. 6 months later, I'm sitting in the cafeteria at Riverside Rehabilitation Center watching Danny navigate the parallel bars with his new physical therapist, Marcus. His form is better than it's ever been, core engaged, breathing controlled, each step deliberate and strong. The equipment here isn't just newer than what he had at Sunrise Manor, it's specialized for adults with cerebral palsy, designed by people who understand that disability doesn't mean inability. He's making remarkable progress, Marcus tells me during Danny's water break. The aquatic therapy program has improved his muscle tone significantly. I think he'll be ready for independent walking aids within 6 months. Independent walking aids. Words I never thought I'd hear applied to my brother. The settlement money covered 18 months at Riverside, plus a small fund for ongoing care. Mom's entire life savings, liquidated down to the last penny, but it bought Danny something that was always supposed to be his, a real chance at independence. Sarah. Danny calls from across the therapy room. Watch this. He demonstrates a new transfer technique, moving from his wheelchair to the exercise mat with minimal assistance. 6 months ago, before Riverside, he needed help with basic positioning. Now he's learning skills that could eventually let him live on his own. I applaud, and his grin could power the entire facility. Mom hasn't seen any of this progress. She moved in with Aunt Carol after the house sold, officially to help with Carol's arthritis but really because she has nowhere else to go. Her retirement is gone, her savings are gone, and her credit is destroyed for the next 7 years minimum. But she's been attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times a week for 5 months now. Carol drives her every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday to a community center in Millfield where she sits in a circle with other people who've lost everything to machines designed to take it. 173 days, she told me during our last phone call. 173 days since I've set foot in a casino. I haven't visited her yet. Haven't been ready to sit across from her and pretend everything is forgiven because she's getting help for the addiction that destroyed Danny's trust fund and nearly destroyed my career. The bank investigation concluded that my actions, while technically illegal, constituted restorative justice rather than criminal intent. Rebecca Chen's final report noted that every penny I moved went directly to the original victim, with no personal benefit to me. The matter was closed without charges, but with a permanent note in my employment file about boundary issues with family finances. I still work at St. Mary's, still check vitals and dispense medications and hold the hands of scared patients. But I'll never work in financial management or have access to estate planning services. The hospital made sure of that. Danny finishes his session and wheels over to where I'm sitting. Ready for lunch? Marcus says the cafeteria has good pizza today. Actually, I have news, I tell him. The trust fund settlement generated some interest income while it was being processed. There's enough for another 6 months at Riverside. His eyes widen. Really? 6 more months. Maybe longer if your progress continues at this rate. What I don't tell him is that the interest income is actually money I've been saving from working those double shifts. $300 a week, set aside religiously, building a fund to extend his care when the settlement money runs out. It's not theft this time. It's not fraud or money laundering or any of the crimes our family has become expert at committing. It's just a sister making sure her brother gets the future he was always supposed to have. Mom was right about one thing, sometimes people who love you will sacrifice everything to take care of you. The difference is, I'm not gambling with Danny's future. I'm investing in it.